Hey guys, today we are going to be going over just what talents and gear choices the top 100 Fury Warriors are using in Castle Nathria fights to maybe help some of you switch up what you are doing and top those guild damage meters. So just a quick note before we start, you might quickly notice some patterns here between gear choices and coinciding talent choices, as some talents just work better with some legendaries. And also, one legendary is far better in multi-target than single target, and vice versa. Also, I am using the top 100 parsers for Heroic Nathria, as there just isn't enough mythic kills to get accurate info. And besides, the same warriors on top of Heroic are the ones on top of Mythic anyways. You might see that the difference in being stuck in ninth place or competing for a top spot on your guild damage meters could be something as simple as a single talent or legendary choice. So here we go. So let's get started with the first boss in Castle Nathria, Shriekwing. Shriekwing is a single target encounter with a ton of downtime, particularly if your guild makes it to the second phase more than once, where she becomes immune to all damage. Most of the top parsers here are so high because their guilds killed her before reaching this phase a second time. So don't worry if you're having trouble reaching these numbers. Most guilds don't have the DPS to down her that fast just yet. So just to kind of give you a quick breakdown of what it is you're looking at here before we get started. This right here is going to be the talents for each fight. As you can see here, talents. What you're going to notice, and I'm probably just going to skip over most of this for most fights, these first five talents here are almost always going to be the same. It's almost always sudden death, double time, almost always massacre, although some people mix these up, but almost always massacre. Most of the time it's war paint. On certain fights where there's mobility, you'll see it's bounding stride, and I'll go over that. Again, almost always cruelty. It's these last two tiers that you're going to see the most interchanging, which is kind of sucks as a Fury Warrior because we just change one talent per fight pretty much, and we're burning through tomes, which on my server at least are pretty expensive, but another video for another day. Now, just real quick here too, these are the trinkets. This one here you're going to see is probably the one that's most used in Castle Nathria. It's the File of Putrefaction. This actually drops in Plaguefall of Dr. Ickis, and obviously you want to do this on a higher mythic level to get a high enough item level, either in your weekly vault or in the actual dungeon itself. I think it's like less than a 1% chance. This has 9.38, but that's on heroic. On mythic plus, you only get 1 to 2 drops, and yeah, it's like a less than 1% chance. So it's tough to get at a higher item level, but you wanna try to get that if you can. Also, you see a lot of warriors on most fights using the Skulker's Ring here. That's just a drop in Nathria. Down here is just your Covenant abilities and your legendaries. So these right here, these for whatever reason always shows an even amount, even though it's probably not. But this is just your Covenant Soulbinds and all that. Thrill Seeker, Friends of Low Places, Agents of Chaos. So that's just what that's going to be. I don't think that's very accurate. It always shows the exact amount. These here are part of your Soulbind tree. The biggest difference you're going to see on fights, there's a lot of Vent there, so you're going to see Ashen Juggernaut and other warriors just use Depths of Insanity, especially if you're using the Signet. Most people who use this Signet, you'd be smart to use Depths of Insanity because it makes your Recklessness last 20% longer, and Recklessness gets procced when you Blade Storm, so that's works very good together. Then this here is your legendaries. This is going to change depending on the fight style, and you'll see major differences in percentage depending on the fight style. Almost all the multi-target fights, you're going to see the Signet up here around this number. Single target fights, you'll see Deathmaker around this number. So that's just what this is. And then these numbers down here are just the DPS for the top 100. I have it set to Heroic, US, and EU Fury Warriors. So that's just what you're going to be seeing on some of these overlays that I post. So on Shriekwing, the first talent chosen by 97% of warriors is Sudden Death. Second tier talent, we have 89% taking double time, and I'm not going to mention the lower percentage ones. That's just they're not really viable. People are just trying different things out, I believe. But third tier here, 84% took Massacre. 4th tier, War Paint, 75%. 24% went with Bounding Stride, probably to have a little more DPS and be able to leap away right before the Echoing Shriek. Then 100% took Cruelty. And then here in the later two, we have 77% taking Dragon Roar, which you will see most people that are using Deathmaker take on single target fights. 22% took Bladestorm. I can assure you that's all the people using the Signet, as that is almost mandatory to use with the Signet to proc Recklessness. But in the last tier, we have Anger Management 67%, Siegebreaker 26%. Took that there, so I would personally go with Anger Management here. As when you go down to the trinkets, we have Phial of Putrefaction. That is again the drop from Dr. Ickes. Far and away the top used trinket, and then it just varies downwards. None really stand out besides the Skulker's Wing and the Stone Legion Heraldry. Then we go down to the legendaries here. You can see 81% went with Deathmaker, mostly for single target. Then we have another 19% still using the Signet even on this single target fight. We have Depths of Insanity, as the conduit. That's 16%. 18% for their Potency Conduit used Ashen Juggernaut. The other two are just Finesse and Endurance, and I don't think those really need to be mentioned here as well. Now you can see just real quick the top damage guy did almost 6k damage, and like I said earlier, that is because his guild killed this boss in 1 minute and 49 seconds, so they never made it to the second phase. So, you know, if you're looking through this on your own at the DPS numbers, don't get too discouraged. Just do the best you can and try to, you know, manage yourself, compare yourself, I should say, against people in your guild, not in the world. And next up, the second boss in Castle Nathria is Huntsman Altimor. So as you can see with the previous bosses, and you will see with most of the later bosses, Sudden Death, by far and away the first choice. Second tier, Double Time. Third tier, Massacre. Fourth tier here is where it gets a little mixed up here. We got 64% taking War Paint, 35% taking Bounding Stride, most likely to kill ads and get back quickly in time. Then we have Cruelty at 96%. Once again, Bladestorm here is the top choice as it's a multi-target fight. A few took Dragon Roar. That might be people wearing Deathmaker. But Anger Management is up at 82% with 14% taking Siegebreaker. And down in the trinkets, once again, I'll only mention the top three. First place by quite a bit, again, is the Phial of Putrefaction. Then we have the Anima Field Emitter. That's from Ophirion, I believe, in the Bastion dungeon there. And again, Stone Legion Heraldry is in third at 11%. When it comes to conduits, potency conduits, in particular, we have Depths of Insanity. That is in first with 18.9% using that. And then the Venthyr Ashen Juggernaut is right behind that at 16.7%. And when it comes to legendaries here, we have more people using the Signet as it is a multi-target fight. We have 60.6% using the Signet of Tormented Kings, while 38.4% are using the Deathmaker. There isn't a huge drop-off in DPS for using the Deathmaker on this fight. It's not a pure multi-target fight. There are many times in this fight where it is single target, so I feel if you go with either one here, you should do just fine. And the third boss on our list is the Hungering Destroyer with 98% taking Sudden Death, 92% taking Double Time. We have 87% taking Massacre. As far as talents go, this is 70% taking War Paint, 30% taking Bounding Stride, 98%, almost 100% taking Cruelty. Then we have 73% taking Dragon Roar, as once again it's a single target fight, with 25% taking Bladestorm. I'll say it again, those are probably the Signet users. We have 65% in the last talent tier taking Anger Management, with just 30% going with Siegebreaker. And down in the trinkets, once again, 21% are using the Phial, with 13% using Stone Legion Heraldry, and behind that at 11% is the Dread Fire Vessel. Then we go to the Potency Conduits, 18% using Ashen Juggernaut, with 16% using Depths of Insanity. And on this single target fight, as far as legendaries go, We have the Deathmaker at 74%, with the Signet falling behind at 25%. And the fourth fight on our list is the Sun King's Salvation. Very AoE heavy fight here, so let's get started. This is the first fight where we actually have a change up in the first tier, with most people 60% going with fresh meat, as there's many targets here to tab to, and just you can pretty much constantly stay in rage this entire fight just by tab targeting. 40% still stuck with sudden death as well, so either way I think you'll be okay there. 86% went with double time. Kind of a lot of movement going on in this fight once you have ads spawning that you need to quickly get to. 95% in the third tier kept Massacre. 71% took War Paint. Almost 30% taking Bounding Stride, probably for the same reasons I said. There is a decent amount of movement here, and it can't hurt to have that. Cruelty, 98% like always. Here's the big difference here. 99% of the top 100 took Bladestorm. Just one lonely soul took Dragon Roar. If you're not using Bladestorm here, you're wrong. You're just not going to be competitive without it. And also 99% took Anger Management. Once again, this is an Anger Management Bladestorm Signet fight by far here if you want to be competitive at all with DPS. Down in the trinket section, on top again, the Phial of Putrefaction. I still haven't gotten this on my character. It's frustrating as hell. But keep on running Plague Fall. Eventually you will get it. In second place, we have the Inscrutable Quantum Device from dealer Zaixa. And in third is the Anima Field Emitter. These are just a couple of AoE trinkets there. And the potency conduits for this, 19.8% went with Depths of Insanity. And behind that was Ashen Juggernaut at 16.5%. And with the legendary, it is extremely one-sided here. The first fight that is this one-sided. 94% went with the Signet of Tormented Kings, with just 6% using Deathmaker. I'm just going to assume the 6% using Deathmaker don't have the Signet. I don't see any other reason not to use it here. This is really the first fight where, as a warrior, you can sit loftily on top of your damage meters. I think the last time I did this, we did this last Monday, way after this video was made and I have in the background, but I was ahead. I even beat this Affliction Warlock in my guild that no one has even come close to beating on any other fight. So this is our fight here. You want to focus on AoE heavy. Use the Signet, use Bladestorm, use Anger Management, and just go nuts. Next on the list would be Artificer Zymox. And with him, we're going to go right into the talents. 97% with Sudden Death, 94% with Double Time, 83% with Massacre. Right here, War Paint and Bounding Stride get pretty evenly broken down. 59% taking War Paint, 40% taking Bounding Stride. I mean, the reason you would take Bounding Stride here, which I usually do, is just in case you get back-to-back, I can't even remember what it's called, but when you got to run through the portal when you're kiting the ads there. Once you kite the ads through the portal, you can just Bounding Stride back. If you get that twice in a row and you don't have Bounding Stride, you'll just have to, find other ways to get back quicker. So that's all that's used for, really. Cruelty is at 98%. Then in the AoE department, we have 65% taking Dragon Roar, with 34% taking Bladestorm. Once again, that's more than likely the people using Signet are taking Bladestorm. And then towards the end, the final tier, we have 67% with Anger Management. Down bottom is 27% with Siege Breaker, and a couple took Reckless Abandon. So I would definitely recommend Anger Management here. When it comes to the trinkets, no surprise here at 21%. The Phial of Putrefaction again is on top. Back to Stone Legion Heraldry at number 2 at 12.5%, with Skulker's Wing at 11% coming in third. Skulker's Wing is really cool. It's kind of like a free charge, I would guess. If you're in range and you use this, it just pours you right into melee range of the boss. So that's a good one there. And the potency conduits just flip-flop back and forth. There isn't really much different in any fight with these, but 18.7% took Depths of Insanity, with 15.9% taking the Ashen Juggernaut from Venthyr. Now, once again, it's a single target fight, so it favors Deathmaker with 68% taking that. 31% did use the Signet of Tormented Kings on this fight as well. It's not a terrible choice here either. Up next comes Lady Inerva Darkvein. This is also a multi-target fight, kind of similar to Huntsman in a way. It's not constantly multi-target. There are single-target parts of it. So the first tier, we got 92% sudden death, nothing new there. 91% double time. We have 79% taking Massacre in the third tier, with 21 taking Frenzy. 65% went with War Paint, with 35% taking Bounding Stride. And there are some abilities here that'll make you leap out. So Bounding Stride doesn't hurt you here. 99% taking Cruelty, almost like always. Then we have 80% going with the Blade Storm, with just 20 taking Dragon Roar, as well as 86% taking Anger Management to round out the talents for Darkvein. Then we head down to the trinkets, 20.5% again with the File. Anima Field Emitter coming in second, with the Quantum Device coming in third. You will usually see those three on top on most of the multi-target fights. And Potency Conduits, 19.9, Depths of Insanity, with 14.7 taking the Venthyr Ashen Juggernaut. First fight where we see 5% of the Kyrian Piercing Verdict as well. And with there being multiple targets in this fight, for the legendaries, we are seeing 70% going with the Signet of Tormented Kings, with 30% taking Deathmaker. Next fight up is the Council of Blood. This one's kind of funky because technically it's a multi-target fight, but once you kill one, the other two heal to full, so the damage you're doing to the other two really don't matter. But it does go on your damage meter, so that's what we're trying to top here. So I think most people here went with an AoE focus, and let's take a look at the talents and see. So first tier, we have Sudden Death. Second, Double Time. Massacre in the third tier, 94%. War Paint, 65% in the fourth tier, with Bounding Stride at 35%. Once again, if you get stuck way in the back during the dance, which, you can't, it's pretty far away, so having an extra Heroic Leap on a shorter cooldown won't hurt. 98% for Cruelty. So then we get to the AoE, and it looks like 77% did go with Blade Storm, because like I said, even though the damage doesn't technically count, it still goes on the meter, and if you're just doing single target, you are going to be in dead last. But 23% took Dragon Roar. And in the last tier of talents, 87% went with Anger Management. Right below that, trinkets again on top. The File, behind that the Field Emitter, and the Quantum Device. Your top three on every AoE fight as far as trinkets go. Not sure why I'm even still mentioning these, but I just will. Ashen Juggernaut at 18.8, with Depth of Insanity right behind that at 16. Once again, no matter which way you go, it's not an issue. And with the legendaries, as expected on a multi-target fight, 62% went with the Signet, while 38% stuck with the Deathmaker here. Then here is the showstopper for a lot of guilds, especially in Heroic and Mythic. It is Sludgefist. This is the single target patchwork style, pure DPS check here. So you kind of want to go with anything that's going to give you your best single target damage output. So let's see what they chose. Let's head down to the first, which is Sudden Death. Then we have Double Time at the second with 92%. 86% here took Massacre. 69% took War Paint. 30 took Bounding Stride. I don't find Bounding Stride particularly useful here because most of the time I'm chained to somebody in melee, and you cannot leap when you're chained to someone. You can't even charge. This is the worst melee fight that's ever been made. So I'd probably go with War Paint here. It reduces your damage while in rage, which is particularly useful on this fight. Again, with Cruelty, 98%. That's pretty much how it is on every fight. Then we got Dragon Roar here because it's more single target focused at 64%, but 36% did take Blade Storm, and once again, you'll see later that's the people using Signet. That percentage almost always evens out with the Signet percentage. 91% took Anger Management. That is just going to give you more recklessness during the fight, which you are absolutely going to need here, with just 8 taking Siegebreaker. Down here in the trinkets, 16% again with the File on top. Stone Legion Heraldry is behind that at 14, with the Inscrutable Quantum Device in third place at 10.5%. This one here is probably the highest that the Ashen Juggernaut has been. It's up at 21%, with 13.4 taking the Depths of Insanity. Then, as we've seen with the previous single target fights, Most people took Deathmaker here at 69%, and then 31% took the Signet of Tormented Kings, which matches up with the 36% of the Blade Storm earlier. And the second to last fight in Castle Nathria are the Stone Legion Generals. This is a pretty heavy cleave fight here. Not so much AoE, but more cleave with 2 or 3 targets up at a time. So if we head down to the first tier, we see 91% took sudden death, 100% took double time. First fight that we've seen that, I believe. 92% took massacre, 81% stuck with war paint, 19 ended up taking bounding stride. There is some movement on this fight, so you can't go wrong with either one. 97% took cruelty. Then we have 86% taking Blade Storm, and I'm sure you know what that means when it comes to the legendaries later, with just 11% going with Dragon Roar. 3 guys took Meat Cleaver. Wouldn't recommend that here though. And in the last tier of talents, 91% went with Anger Management. And this is the first fight down in the trinket section where we see one that is has been different than the previous 10 fights now. We do have 18% on top taking the File, with 15 behind that taking Stone Legion Heraldry. But here we see 10% going with the Sinful Gladiators, the PvP trinket, which gives you an ability to boost your primary stat by 135 for 20 seconds. Also gives you a good amount of haste there as well at 88 haste with the eye level 200 trinket. Shits and giggles, we're going to just throw it in there. Depths of Insanity 18, Ashen Juggernaut 14%. And with the legendaries, no surprise here that 79% went with the Signet of Tormented Kings, as there is pretty heavy cleave fight with just 20% going with the Deathmaker on this one. And rounding out the raid bosses in Castle Nathria, we have Sire Denathrius as the end boss, and we'll get right into it with 88% taking sudden death, 93% with double time, 88% taking massacre, 72% taking war paint with 24 going with bounding stride, 92% with cruelty. We have a strong 96% taking Blade Storm. You don't want to take anything but that in this fight, as well as 91% taking Anger Management. Awful lot of cleave action going on here and AoE going on as well. So that's the build that most people went for, and you want to as well. And this would be the first fight in the entire instance where the File is not the most used trinket. It's in second at 17.5%. Still pretty healthy usage. But the number 1 trinket used here is Stone Legion Heraldry. And third place behind that is the overwhelming Power Crystal at 10%. That you can get that off Millie Mana Storm down in one of them heroic dungeons here. Can't even think of the name of it right now. The other side. And we have Ashen Juggernaut and Depths of Insanity pretty much neck and neck here as always. I'm not even going to put the wording up. I'm tired of it. But then if you look at the legendary here, 90%, 90.6%, by far the highest. I think Sun King might have been higher, but 90.6% used that on Sire. Very, very heavy AoE fight. Just 9.4% used Deathmaker. If you have the Signet crafted, even the lower tier one, you probably should use it here as over the Deathmaker regardless. And there you have it, folks. That is the top 100 Fury Warriors and their talent choices, gear choices, legendaries, all that stuff in Castle Nathria. Hopefully you can follow their choices and it will help you do a little better. I know it definitely worked for me. If you liked it, leave a comment below about what you liked. Otherwise, like and subscribe, and we shall see you on the next one. Thank you.